now how to invest smartly and to overcome the COVID crisis. Well, we have developed already before the crisis struck the European Green Deal. And now we have to adopt the European Green Deal as an instrument to overcome the COVID crisis. Interestingly, suddenly, the European Green Deal inspired the Democratic Party before the elections, and a Korean Green Deal was coming on paper. And when the new deal was promoted, there was very little green in the concept. I think that was brought to the attention of the Blue House. The Blue House had to think of green, of the color green, and President Moon Jae-in asked, relatively short term, a few ministers to come up with a greening concept. So we are still waiting to see the final product, but I think this is again an area where we could do more together. We have developed over decades an approach to greening. We have a lot of instruments. We are already working with Korea on the area, and we could see what is applicable and where can we learn from each other. And I think this is also a necessity. If we hand over to the next generation, talking at the university, one has to think about the next generation. Not only a huge burden of debt worldwide, $10.4 trillion, and if we add on to this debt a planet, a climate, which is just about to collapse, I think that's breaching the relationship between generations. So I think that's something we should have in mind. Another issue which is coming and looming is how to work on this connectivity. We have proposed a European connectivity approach, which is different from the Chinese approach, and which was not entirely prompted by China, because we are having in the European Union for decades the trans-European networks. It's just another way of calling it connectivity, because you cannot enlarge the European Union without making sure that the trains, the waterways, the roads, that they're all connected. So there's enough experience on that. Well, a few ideas. First of all, what strategic partnership actually stands for. And I think Korea should be aware it is a rather unique label which is given. And then a few of the areas where we should look forward, and these are all pressing issues, so that we don't have the luxury for a long wait and see, but we should rather start moving now. Thank you.
Rather than backward, much more forward we did. Your remark is quite challenging and demanding, because you provided some homework all the counterpart. Okay, let's move to other excellencies. Last deliver keynote.
Professor Kim Si-hon, thank you for inviting me to this meaningful event. It is especially delightful to be able to talk about the ever-strengthening strategic partnership between Korea and the European Union in front of the experts in the field, together with my colleague, Ambassador, and Scholar Ambassador, Michael Reiter. The world is going through a watershed. COVID-19 has changed many aspects of our lives. People talk about BC, before coronavirus, and AD, after domestication. According to The Economist, the EU has been going through not only health crisis, but economic, political, fiscal, and even constitutional crisis. But we are seeing once again the validity of Jean Monnet's saying, Europe will be forged through crisis and will be the sum of solutions adapted for those crises. The EU is intensifying cooperation to cope with the COVID-19. Since I came back from Brussels last December, I kept reflecting on my experiences there. Even if I now feel like a Cinderella past midnight, I still think it a great, irreplaceable honor to work on the further strengthening of the invaluable strategic partnership between the European Union and Korea, collaborating with like-minded super European colleagues. Korea and the EU have been nurturing close partnership over the last 57 years since the establishment of diplomatic relationship in 1963. I will never be able to forget the experience of submitting my credentials to the then President Donald Tusk of the European Council in February 2017. He told me the Korean ambassador had brought a bright atmosphere to the usual rainy weather of Brussels. He told me also that Korea is the best partner of the European Union. As I was so excited with my first experience of presenting credentials, I thought I must have misheard him. He must have said Korea is one of the best partners of the EU. But I kept hearing Korea is the best partner of the EU. Sensing my pleasant surprise, President Tusk told me Korea was the only country at the time to have 3 key agreements with the EU: Framework Agreement, FTA, and Crisis Management Participation Agreement. Korea is also one of the rare 10 strategic partners to the European Union, which truly shares values with the European Union. An ambassador colleague in Brussels asked me how his country can become a strategic partner to the European Union. He said he was really envious of me. President Moon is having a virtual meeting with the EU President in 4 days as his first bilateral summit meeting this year. It is a good build-up on his meeting with the EU leaders at Brussels in October 2018 that concluded legal frameworks and mechanisms for future cooperation. A joint statement on IUU fishing was signed and the aviation horizontal agreement was initiated, while cooperation on data protection was strengthened at the time. Dialogues on ICT, transportation, and small and medium enterprises were launched. At that time, President Tusk mentioned, I quote, "Our relations are positive and strong in each of the 3 pillars of our strategic partnership: political, economic, and security." Our summit today reconfirms the importance of our strategic partnership. The Republic of Korea is a solid, like-minded, reliable, and committed partner in Asia, I unquote. The meeting was symbolized by the ASEM Gala dinner a day before, featuring a Korean pianist playing a Polish composer's work and the European capital in the presence of the Korean president. People talk about G2 world led by the United States and China, or G0 world without any leader. However, in some respect, it is the G3 world led by the EU, the United States and China. We see the exemplary leadership of the EU in setting up rules and regulations, often called the Brussels effect, as Ambassador Reiter mentioned. It is not just because the EU represents 27 leading countries in the world, but because the EU champions the precious values of mankind, which will have a lasting effect on international relations. The current government of Korea has shown the importance it attached to the EU by sending a special envoy to the EU in May 2017 for the first time for an incoming Korean president who was himself elected most auspiciously on the Europe Day on May 9, 2017. The Foreign Minister of Korea participated in Foreign Affairs Committee meeting in March 2018 for the first time as an Asian foreign minister. I'm working for the Seoul Metropolitan Government now. The Mayor of Seoul also is meeting with his fellow mayors in the EU over the internet, sharing best practices to deal with COVID-19 and working on ideas to generate economic and job growth in the post-COVID-19 era. The Seoul City's platform, Cities Against COVID-19, is frequently visited by people all over the world, including the EU citizens. Despite the short time since its launch on last April 9, it shows a record of more than 8.5 million visits. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the strategic partnership between Korea and the EU, as well as the 70th anniversary of both Schuman Declaration and the outbreak of the Korean War. Both sides have worked together on rule-based trade and multilateralism on the basis of the common values of democracy, market economy, human rights, and the rule of law. On the shoulders of one-decade-old strategic partnership, Korea and the EU will do a lot in overcoming